And as I'm, getting in my car and leaving, I kind of have to drive past the Oregon District some, and I see like a lot of cops, and I see multiple ambulances leaving and going to the scene. And I'm just like, then I'm looking on social media and I see that it isn't just 5 people being shot, it's more people, and that this is the actual mass shooting going on right now as I'm driving past, and I'm like, this is crazy.
Then all of a sudden, people start running, and that's when I started hearing shots fired, and bullets were just riddling. A lot of people on the backside of net peppers were falling. A lot of people got trampled, and everything went really quick. Everyone rushed to their cars. Everyone couldn't believe what was happening.
Then we heard a second one, and then after that it was rapid. Then we knew it. Then once that started happening, I instantly started trying to run, but I realized my cousin wasn't on the side of me. When I looked back, it's how I was able to see that people were actually falling from being hit by bullets. I ain't gonna never get those sounds out of my head of just the gunshots, and then the people screaming and the trampling and just the fear, just really seeing fear like that. I've never been in nothing like that where I just seen a group of people so fearful. We just had the Klan rally down here, and our city stuck together and showed that that's not what we about down here. We're not about hate, We always got a saying here. All the stores put it up, no hating in Dayton. We don't do that, So just for somebody to do that, it's just a shock. Like, we know that this is going to change our outlook of our city.
Keep going. Run out that way. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Hands up.
Random kid just ran in there and was like, it's an active shooter in Walmart. I have my license to carry, so I instantly just pulled out my gun. And I'm in the military as well, so we're trained, You hear things like that, like you're in danger, you pull out your weapon, you find cover, you save whoever you can, I grab as many as possible, and I try to get a couple other people to, grab other kids, but they're just so worried about themselves, they're gone. So I'm like, man, I'm thinking if I have a child, what I would want somebody else to do. So I just grabbed as many kids as possible, and I got out of the store.
Fight like a mother! Fight like a mother! Fight like a mother! What do we want? Background checks! When do we want it? Now!
3 months ago, early in the morning, the day after Memorial Day, I think we had not quite this many cameras, but a discussion about 14 tornadoes that ravaged our city. And now to, be awakened in the middle of the night to a mass shooting and the 250th shooting in our country this year happening in Dayton. What really goes through my mind is one seems completely preventable, and I just question, when is enough enough?
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Tim Pham. We'll bring you updates on the fire and smoke around the inland Northwest. But first, our top story tonight. Americans in mourning after 2 mass shootings. Communities in Ohio and Texas now healing. Within the last 24 hours, at least 30 people were killed and even more were injured. The most recent shooting took 9 lives early this morning in Dayton, Ohio. The gunman in body armor opened fire in a popular entertainment district in Dayton. The shooter used a .223 caliber rifle and began attacking around 1 a.m. One of the victims killed was identified as the gunman's sister. Dozens of others were wounded before the shooter was killed by police.
The Oregon District is one of the safest places in the whole region. These senseless acts of violence that occur have been happening any place. And I don't mean to scare people, but frankly, we're at a situation now in our country that you're really, these are so random. There's no place that, you could say, oh, I just don't want to ever go anywhere.
The Dayton shooting is the 22nd mass killing of 2019 in the U.S. For more in-depth coverage about the Dayton shooting and the victims who lost their lives, visit our website, KREM.com, or click on this story inside the KREM 2 app. Just hours before the shooting in Ohio, a gunman carrying a rifle opened fire into a crowd of about 3,000 people at a shopping center. 20 people were killed and 26 more were injured. Relatives of a victim say a 25-year-old woman was shot and killed while holding her 2-month-old son. Mexican officials say 3 Mexican nationals were among the dead and 6 more were wounded. A Justice Department official said the federal government is treating the shooting as a domestic terrorism case.
We are conducting a methodical investigation with our partners, a careful investigation, but with a view towards bringing federal hate crimes charges under 18 U.S.C. 249 and federal firearms charges, which carry a penalty of death. We are treating it as a domestic terrorism case, and we're going to do what we do to terrorists in this country, which is deliver swift and certain justice.
A racist anti-immigrant manifesto posted online shortly beforehand was linked to the shooter. The shooting comes less than a week after a 19-year-old gunman killed 3 people and injured 13 others at the popular Gilroy Garlic Festival in California before dying of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. For more in-depth coverage of the El Paso shooting and the victims who lost their lives, visit our website, KREM.com, or click on this story inside the KREM 2 app. So far in 2019, 96 people died in the 22 mass killings in the United States. The numbers greatly outpace those seen in other countries, and it begs the question, why is this a uniquely American issue? Today, many politicians are calling out what they believe to be the root cause, the roughly 270 million guns circulating in the U.S. While Americans make up just 4.4% of the world's population, Americans own 42% of the world's guns. A study done at the University of Alabama found that a country's rate of gun ownership correlated with the odds it would experience a mass shooting. As for the other explanations, they've been debunked by research. Switching gears now, you're taking a look at a time lapse of Saturday night sunset. You can just see all of that haze in the air. Wildfires around the inland Northwest brought on the familiar effects of wildfire smoke. At one point last night in Spokane, last night's air quality was in the unhealthy range, but tonight things are looking up. The Spokane Regional Clean Air Agency shows that Spokane's air quality for today is actually now in the good category. The outlook for tomorrow is currently at moderate. However, this could change as wildfires in our area continue to burn. The largest fire producing a substantial portion of the smoke is the Williams Flats fire on the Colville Reservation. The fire is within the Hellgate Game Preserve on the Colville Indian Reservation, which is about 7 miles southeast of Keller, Washington. It's grown to more than 10,000 acres, and at this hour, it's 0% contained. So far, crews have been successful in saving threatened structures and cultural resources. Investigators believe the cause of the fire was the lightning that struck on August 2nd. Well, fighting that fire is not going to get any easier as temperatures are expected to be well into the 90s, with some parts of the inland Northwest hitting triple-digit temperatures. Meteorologist Michelle Boss is in the Weather Center tonight with a look at the smoke forecast. Michelle?
Yeah, we will certainly have no shortage of hot and dry weather in Spokane and across the rest of the inland Northwest. The good news for firefighters, as it looks like we're not going to see a whole lot of wind. Taking a look at some of the current wind speeds across the region at the 5 o'clock hour, winds are calm in the Spokane area, and for the most part, we are not seeing any sustained winds over 10 miles per hour. There also are not any higher gusts, so good news there. But a lot of folks might be asking, okay, why did we have so much smoke yesterday evening, and what changed that we saw a huge improvement in our air quality today? Well, as we take a look at visible satellite right now with a look at where the location of the Williams Flats fire is, we go back to earlier this morning, and as the first couple of frames, you see a lot of that smoke. It's kind of hard to see drifting to the south as we had more low-level winds that were northerly, so blowing the smoke to the south. During the afternoon, as that smoke rose higher into the air, our upper-level winds are westerly, meaning they're blowing from west to east, so that's where we're getting those hazy conditions that we're seeing. Some of the smoke higher up in the atmosphere, which doesn't affect our air quality in the lower levels as much, but does again make for some hazy conditions. Here's a look at the wind forecast through tomorrow early afternoon. Again, we are expecting our low-level winds to be generally out of the north and northeast here in the Spokane area, so we're not going to be pulling in a bunch of new smoke from that fire. However, the upper-level winds will continue continue to be out of a westerly direction. So as that smoke rises higher up in the sky, that higher level smoke will be pushed across eastern Washington. So we will continue to see hazy conditions. Otherwise, we are looking at mostly clear skies. Hot temperatures today. We should top out around 90 before the day is over. Upper 90s and triple-digit heat on the way for later this week.
Michelle, thank you. Well, with all of the smoke we saw last night and with what's still lingering today, KREM 2 Shayna Waldtower tells us how this year's air quality records are stacking up to previous years.
Yeah, just last night, many of you said you stepped outside and were hit with the strong smell of smoke.
There is a
you can smell it. It really smelled very close, but it wasn't. In the middle of the night, I woke up with sinuses stuffed and sneezing.
And that's made it a bit harder to enjoy what would otherwise be a beautiful day. Earlier this year, the American Lung Association ranked Spokane number 15 out of 25 cities with the most polluted air in the United States. And this time of year is when we start to see or smell some of the truth in that report.
The eyes were watering and itchy, and all kinds of allergy type of symptoms were starting.
If we look at this year so far, we've had about 2 days with air quality over moderate. But we just stepped into August, which according to record charts is when things have picked up in past years. Let's look at this month in 2018, which was one of the smokiest years on record in Spokane.
The smoke was so thick, we couldn't even see the water tower, which was right in front of us.
This chart is from the Spokane Regional Clean Air Agency, showing a tally of every day with an air quality of unhealthy for some groups or worse. For this story, we're only counting pollution from wildfire smoke. By nearly the end of August last year, we had seen 13 days of air with quality over moderate, 5 days of unhealthy air, and 1 day of very unhealthy air, and at least 1 day of hazardous air. Compared to last year, we're just a couple of days early to see our first day above moderate. 2018's first was on August 8th. Now, we haven't gotten to that level so far, but the month is still early. And again, looking at these dates, most of the bad air came in August, with some sprinkled over a few days in September. In 2014, there was 1 day with quality at unhealthy for some groups. In 2015, there were 13. 5 of those were in the unhealthy range. And well, 2016 had none. But 2017 made up for that. There were a total of 16 days over moderate. 4 of those were unhealthy and 3 were very unhealthy. Now, with us sitting in the moderate range right now, just as a reminder, this typically doesn't affect the general public, usually just those who are typically sensitive to air pollution. Reporting in Spokane, Shayna Waldtower, KREM 2 News.